The 2021 NFL Draft was absolutely loaded, as it featured players like Jamar Chase, Micah Parsons, Rashawn Slater, and even had 5 quarterbacks drafted in the top 15 picks. This class is without a doubt one of the best in not just recent memory, but with the pace a lot of these guys are on, it could very easily end up as one of the best in NFL history. And in today's video, we are going to be going back and grading picks 17 through 32 2 years later. We're going to be going in reverse order from picks 32 through 17, so we will be starting with pass rusher Tryon Shoyinka of the Buccaneers and finishing with Alex Leatherwood of the Raiders. And there is a lot to dive into in today's video, and without further ado, let's begin. Tryon Shoyinka went number 32 overall to the then Super Bowl champion Buccaneers and was expected to be a key contributor from day one. He walked into a favorable situation as Shaq Barrett was going to be in the opposite side of him, and with Vita Vea taking up blockers in the middle, it wasn't unreasonable for him to have 7 or 8 sacks even as a rookie. He has 8 sacks in his career, and for all of the flashes he has as a pass rusher, there is one big negative, and it's how often he misses tackles. He has 50 tackles in 2 seasons to 19 missed tackles, and while his percentage went down from his rookie year to his second year, that is, in terms of missing tackles, this is something he will need to continually work on. And teams don't draft pass rushers in the first round to have 4 sacks per season. If you've watched the channel before, you know pass rush generally takes time to develop, and through 2 years, Joe gets a C with it expected to go up. Odafe Oweh was supposed to take a giant leap from 2021 to 2022, as during his rookie season he flashed in a big way. He helped secure a win over the Chiefs as he forced and recovered a game-sealing fumble, and while he only had 5 sacks in 2021, he forced 3 fumbles and looked to be the next great Ravens defender. Unfortunately, the jump in year 2 never came, and he finished with less pressures and less sacks in 2022. When watching him, it's like he will appear and play a huge role once a month, then disappear for weeks at a time. For as strong of a start to his career as he had, it's been downhill since. He had 1 sack from week 13 of 2021 through week 12 of the 2022 season. The flashes are few and far between, and 2023 is the definition of a make or break year for him, and this gets a C grade. Greg Rousseau, the pass rusher from the U, was Buffalo's first-round pick in 2021, and I thought his second season went pretty well for the Bills, all things considered. He is still a pretty young player, as he will play this season at just 23 years old, yet finished his second season with 8 sacks. I do think he will take another step this year, and the return of Von Miller should, in theory, only help Rousseau. He had 4 sacks in the first 4 games of 2022 and had 4 sacks in the remaining 9 games he played, so I would like to see a little more consistency from him this year. He had an impressive win rate of 19.9% per PFF and improved in every category from year 1 to year 2. I think he puts it all together this year and has his first of what will hopefully be many double-digit sack seasons, a B+ grade with it expected to improve. Eric Stokes is up, and this is a very tough player to grade for multiple reasons. He had a solid rookie year and was looking to build on it in 2022, but life in the NFL is never that easy, and he did not have a good second season prior to injury. In the 9 games he played, he was targeted 25 times and allowed 21 receptions for 275 yards and a touchdown. This is per PFF, and when he was targeted, he was allowing an opposing quarterback passer rating of 125.8. For a long time, the injury he was said to have was a knee/ankle injury with very little detail. He got injured against Detroit, but it is important to note he was having a noticeable sophomore slump compared to his rookie year. Opposing quarterbacks completed passes at a rate of 51% in 2021 compared to a rate of 84% in 2022. I hope he comes back healthy in 2023 and plays well, but for now it's a C-. Payton Turner is up for the Saints, and I think this is a pick a lot of people simply forgot about over the past 2 years. With everything that's happened to the Saints and how much they are over the salary cap every single year, they need contribution from rookies and young players early, and that's something they simply haven't got from Payton Turner. He has just 28 combined tackles and 3 sacks in 2 years, and has played in 13 of the possible 34 games. Marcus Davenport, a 2018 first-round pick, as a free agent, and this will lead for more opportunities for Turner. But even when he's been on the field, aside from a game against a very bad Raiders offensive line, Turner has not been good. Giving an F grade is reserved for very, very bad players, but Payton has not been anywhere close to what the Saints hoped for when they made this pick. A D- grade. Rashod Bateman, the receiver from the Minnesota Golden Gophers, is up, and unfortunately for Rashod, injuries have played a big part in his career. The flashes have been there, and I truly believe he could be a perennial 1,000-yard receiver if he could stay healthy, and if the Ravens gave him more targets. We have 2 seasons now where Bateman could not finish the year healthy, and 2023 is a big year for him, and will largely determine his future in Baltimore for that matter too. This is without a doubt one of the harder ones to grade, because the talent is there, it's just a matter of getting everyone on the same page. But the results have not been there, and through 2 years, this is a C-. Greg Newsome, the corner from Northwestern, went to Cleveland with their first-round pick in 2021, and there's a lot to unpack here. Greg hasn't been outstanding as a corner, but there's multiple reasons for that. The Browns' pass rush outside of Myles Garrett is atrocious, which in turn affects the corners' play and ultimately their numbers. Joe Woods was the team's defensive coordinator for each of Newsome's first 2 seasons and was fired. All of this to say, Newsome hasn't exactly been put in a position to succeed in the first 2 years of his career, and Greg has also expressed his frustration with playing so many snaps at slot corner. So to wrap up his first 2 years, there's no pass rush to help himself in the other corners. He had a defensive coordinator get fired and was asked to play in a position in slot corner that he is not as good as he is as an outside corner. 2 years in, this is a C+, but this is a bad situation for Greg. Travis Etienne reunited with former Clemson teammate Trevor Lawrence a couple of hours after he was selected with the number 1 overall pick. Etienne missed all of his rookie season with a Liz Frank injury, and entering 2022, given they used a first-round pick on a running back, there was a lot of anticipation of how Travis would play in what was his first year starting. And he played very well, as he finished top 10 in rushing yards and had an additional 316 receiving yards. You really can't ask for more when a first-round back goes for over 1,400 total yards. Yes, it was unfortunate he missed his entire rookie year, but Travis is a very good player. He averaged over 5 yards per carry, which was in the top 5 of all running backs in 2022. I can't wait to see what the 2023 Jags do, as I expect them to win the AFC South for the 2nd consecutive season, and Etienne will play a huge part in this. He's not a generational back, and to me, this is an A- grade. Najee Harris was the first of back-to-back running backs selected, and Najee's had an up-and-down start to his career. He's averaged 3.9 yards per carry through the first 2 years, which obviously isn't great, but you can look at his offensive line and understand why the yards per carry isn't there. Even though the yards haven't been where Steelers fans would probably like, he started his career off with back-to-back 1,000-yard rushing seasons and is the only Steeler to do so. He also has back-to-back 10 total touchdown seasons, and while Najee, like Etienne, isn't one of the best 2 or 3 backs in the NFL, it's hard to be upset with this pick, especially considering some of the picks after him. I would like to see Najee go for at least 4 yards per carry in 2023, but when you have a 1,600 total yard season and a 1,200 total yard season to start your career, you are clearly doing something right. An A- grade. Left tackle Christian Darrisaw is up, and I would be very surprised if Darrisaw doesn't have a couple of Pro Bowls by the end of his career. He was dominant throughout the 2022 season, and yes, he allowed a few sacks down the stretch, and even allowed a big one to Micah Parsons, which became a strip sack and what became a very dominant Cowboys win, but it's Micah Parsons. It's going to happen. Darrisaw had just 3 penalties called on him all year, and for as much as the Vikings heard they were frauds all year long, Darrisaw was not a part of that. Assuming he stays healthy in 2023 and continues to play at the level he did in 2022, he will be looking for a contract extension 1 year from now, an A+ grade. Caleb Farley went to Tennessee, and his career so far at least has been disappointing. He's played just 12 games in 2 years, and I know there's going to be a lot of people that would prefer the incomplete grade because of the lack of playing time compared to other players from this class, but even when Farley has played, he hasn't been good. To date, he's only played 163 career defensive snaps and has been targeted 22 times when on the field. And out of those 22 targets, he's allowed 16 receptions for 279 yards and 2 touchdowns. Opposing quarterbacks have a passer rating of 145.1 lifetime when throwing at Farley. I want him to bounce back in the worst way, but through 2 years, this is an F. Kwity Paye was the first of back-to-back AFC South picks, and he has 10 sacks in 2 seasons. Kwity has been a pretty solid player on an otherwise bad team. He had 6 sacks in 12 games in 2022, and if he stays healthy in 2023, I would be very surprised if Paye doesn't notch his first career double-digit sack season. There's players you want to succeed that haven't had great starts to their careers where you think, I hope this works out, but I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if it doesn't, and Kwity is not one of those players. He is a freak athletically, as he ran a 4.57 40 at 260 pounds and repped out 225 on the bench 36 times. Both were at or above the 95th percentile. It takes a few years to develop from a pass rushing standpoint, and he is a perfect example of this. For now, it's a B grade, but if he stays healthy, it should go up 1 year from now. Kadarius Toney was the Giants' first-round pick, and this is coming from what the Giants got out of him. He was traded for just a 3rd and 6th-round pick after having a nightmare of a start to his second season for New York. His most notable game of his career was a 189-yard game against the Cowboys in his rookie season. For his Giants tenure, he is remembered as a guy who was always injured, and a guy who a lot of people thought was faking an injury because he wanted out. Giants fans were very grateful for the huge punt return he had in the Super Bowl against the division rival Eagles, and a play that ultimately allowed Kansas City to take the lead in the second half. But for Toney to only have 41 receptions for 420 yards as a member of the Giants, and to only bring back a 3rd and 6th round pick is disappointing. A D grade. Jamin Davis had a bit of a rough start to his career, but picked it up in a big way in 2022. He finished the year with 104 total tackles, 9 TFLs, 3 sacks, and cut down on his missed tackle percentage in a big way. It wasn't a perfect second season by any means, but it was a huge step in the right direction for him. This is a classic case of don't overreact to a not great rookie season, and that guys can, in fact, pick it up in their second year. I would love to see what the Commanders' defense would look like if they could put it all together and have Jamin roam behind the defensive line, including Chase Young, as it would be extremely beneficial to Jamin. I do expect him to continue the good level of play he showed throughout 2022, and for now, it's a B. Jaelan Phillips went from the U to the Miami Dolphins and has not disappointed since. He has 15.5 sacks in 2 seasons, and this is a classic case of sacks are not everything because of how good of a player Jaelan is. He had less sacks in his second season than what he had in his rookie season, but had 77 pressures in 2022, which ranked 7th in the entire NFL. He had a 20.4% win rate as a pass rusher per PFF, and to give you an idea of how good that is, it was better than Hassan Reddick's win rate of 20.2%, and he finished the year with 16 sacks and was in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. The only debate on this grade is whether it's an A or an A+, and that's because you want to leave them for only a player or 2 per video, and for as good of a year as Jaelan had, Micah Parsons had 29 more pressures than him and is in the same draft class. However, Dolphins fans, Micah is in the alien or S tier, and Jaelan has been everything they could have hoped for and more, an A+ grade. Alex Leatherwood was a baffling selection for the Raiders, as everyone had Christian Darrisaw as a higher rated tackle in the draft process, everyone except for the Raiders, that is. In 2021, he allowed 67 pressures, which was the most in the NFL. He also gave up 8 sacks and had 16 penalties. Leatherwood was released prior to the start of the 2022 NFL season, and when you are released and not even traded for a 7th round pick just a year after being drafted number 17 overall, this goes to show how catastrophic of a miss this was. To make matters worse for the Raiders, Christian Darrisaw, the better prospect they passed on, was one of the best tackles in the league in 2022. Leatherwood is now a member of the Chicago Bears, and this pick is an easy F. And that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, as it would mean the world and help a ton. I cannot thank you guys enough for the support, and until next time, as always, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.